Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Surina and I usually post YouTube videos when I'm not busy being a doctor or traveling or all the other things I do to procrastinate from this. I have been locuming and traveling my way around the whole of Australia, which has been amazing but not so great for finding time to film. Currently I am in Hamilton Island, which is one of the Whitsunday Islands in Australia, still traveling, but I've got a little half-an-hour gap between we're catching our boat to the next stop. So basically, short story, very long, I'm back today with an assumptions video. I asked you guys for assumptions to commemorate my 20,000 subscriber milestone, which is ridiculous. Thank you so much to all of you who've subscribed. And now I will finally address the assumptions that you guys asked me. Firstly, you're an Indian. Yes, I am. Next is you're moving out of the flat. Now I can see why this assumption was asked at the time. Maybe it wasn't so clear, but yes, I have moved out of my Brisbane flat for about 2 months now. And like I said, I'm kind of just traveling and working my way around Australia. So more on that coming on this channel soon, but more real-time updates are on my Instagram if you want to go and follow me there. Next, you are too addicted to your work that you sometimes forget about yourself. Interesting assumption. I'd say at the moment, that's really not true. Probably the opposite, actually. I'm very much treating work as work, leaving it there. It's kind of a means to basically earn a living and keep my skills validated. I'm not really too worried about career progression. I'd say this has probably been true in other times, maybe when I've got exams or deadlines or whatever, and then you kind of put aside a good lifestyle, sleep, all of that stuff in the name of work, but currently very much the opposite. That might change in the future. You have your shit together and you are brave AF. So as far as having my life together goes, I can really see why this assumption is asked, because I feel like the online world gives you the impression that most people do have their lives together, that they're juggling all the balls at the same time. Now, that is definitely not true in reality, not only for myself, but I suspect a lot of people that you only see online, because it is impossible to have everything going at full capacity exactly the way you want it or the way I want it. And that's only something I'm beginning to realize now, is if you're saying yes to certain opportunities and certain things you want to give your energy to, there are some things that are going to be neglected as a result, and that's okay. And I think that second bit is what I'm slowly coming around to, is that at different times different things require your energy and attention, but you cannot give it to everything. So no, whereas it might seem that way online, absolutely not true. There is stress, there is feeling anxious, there is feeling overwhelmed, there are tears, believe me, because I feel like I can't manage everything I want to, and I'm trying to move out of that period of getting frustrated with it to just accepting it and at least doing a few things well at one time and then focusing my attentions elsewhere another time, rather than trying to do everything at once. It's impossible. And the second part of that is brave, that I'm brave. I don't really know how I've given that impression. I can't think of anything I've done that's shown me being brave. I'm scared of a lot of things, scared of spiders and snakes. Don't know why I moved here. Stupid decision, I know, but I haven't seen too many of either of those, don't worry. I guess I'm afraid of all the things that humans should instinctively be afraid of, like heights and getting in water and things. I do overcome that to still kind of go hiking or climbing or diving or all those adventurous things. So I'd say I'm adventurous because I want to experience that thing, but the whole time there is some baseline fear of, oh my gosh, I really shouldn't be in this situation, but the adventure kind of outweighs the fear. So yeah, I'm not really sure if that makes me brave as such. You've never been to India. Could not be further from the truth, actually. I'm going to India next in literally a couple of weeks, which I'm very excited about. It's been a while. And before that, actually, I used to go to India pretty much every year of my life. I had lots of family there, including my grandparents. That kind of slowed down a little at university when I had exams at weird times. And also when my grandparents passed away or moved out of India, there became less of a reason to go there so frequently. But I used to go there loads. So a few people have asked, you love to travel and you're rich. You're rich AF, you're rich. I've seen this asked in pretty much every assumptions video I've ever watched. You can see why. I think if you're doing an assumptions video, then you're probably creating content of some sort. And if you're creating content, you are giving away a lot of assumptions about your life. You've got the headspace, the mental space to create content. It's usually aesthetic. It's usually something that looks desirable. That is the whole nature of putting things out on social media. So I can see why this is asked a lot. I think it's very difficult to answer because it's all so relative. One way of looking at money that I really like is a book I read called I Will Teach You to Be Rich, which is by, let me just look it up, Ramit Sethi. So he has written this book about how to be smarter with your finances. And one concept I really love is the idea of your rich life. And what that means is after a certain point, it's not about the money you're earning, it's how smart you're being with it, so how you're choosing to invest it, save it, etc. But also the things that you're spending it on that are good for you. Come in. Sorry, someone was just knocking to find out when we're checking out, which is soon, so I better hurry. Yeah, so I was talking about the idea of rich life, where you're firstly using your money smartly, so investment, savings, etc. But also how you're spending your money on things that enrich your life and reflect what you value. So I always say that I don't think of things as cheap, expensive, necessarily, but about how much value they add to your life. Something that you think is a good value for money may be completely outrageous for someone else and unattainable for someone else in the context of their other expenses. So me, I have got fairly regular salary with the job that I do. It's a pretty stable job. I've got no dependents, no mortgages, no kids. So most of my money is being poured into things like traveling and saving for future big purchases. And the amount of money I'm earning right now is very sufficient for that. Of course, even within that, there's such a spectrum of the type of places you stay, the type of foods you eat, and I'm definitely trying to save money on those things because what I value is the experience. So I'd rather see more places than go to one place and stay in a luxury, resort there, for example. It's more about the experiences, and that's where I'm channeling most of my money, as well as having some for savings. Of course, when things change in the future, my current salary and way of life is by no means going to cover that, even slightly. So yeah, I would say that I'm currently living the life that I want with the money I have, living below my means, but that will definitely change in the future. Okay, next is you lick yogurt lids. Big change of tone there. I have no idea why someone would assume this about me, and I don't even know if I have an answer. Oh, actually, I've just thought about the lid of yogurts, and I've realized I really hate them, especially when it's a little bit kind of congealed, a bit thicker. And I'm getting flashbacks of being a kid when my parents made me lick the yogurt lid so I didn't waste anything, which is perfectly reasonable, but I absolutely hated that sensation. So actually, I hate licking yogurt lids. Thanks for reminding me. Next, you were a big nerd during medical school. I just don't believe anyone who went to medical school and says that they weren't a nerd. By definition, you have to, in some capacity, love learning lots of things and kind of enjoy the whole exams and grades and meritocracy kind of culture just a little bit, because that is what medical school thrives on. Is the competition between everyone. And by the way, it goes on throughout your whole career. You're always being ranked constantly against your peers. So you have to thrive off of the nerd life slightly, I think. I guess this is getting at the kind of classic nerd avatar, the person in the library all hours of the night, not socializing, quite robotic. And I'd say there were times of my life, especially medical school, that were like that. Around exam times, I did go a little bit deep in the nerd hole. I and most people stayed pretty well rounded in terms of doing lots of extracurricular things and kind of just being normal social creatures. So yeah, I think that assumption is true for pretty much everyone at medical school, and I'm willing to hear otherwise. I'm willing to hear your arguments, but just know I don't believe you. Next is you're an introvert. Absolutely. I absolutely love being time on own. I can't speak. This is why I don't talk to people. I absolutely love spending time alone. I think a lot of content creators may agree with this because you're essentially alone a lot, talking to a camera by yourself, editing by yourself, scripting by yourself. I love that side of this whole thing. But even in the rest of my life, yeah, would always love to spend time alone. I do obviously cherish human connection. We're all sociable creatures as humans, but I'm very much those people who prefers to have fewer people that I treasure a lot and I'm willing to do a lot for them because they mean a lot to me. And I don't really do that well in big groups. I'm a lot shyer and don't really feel as much myself, and definitely get that feeling of being drained of energy. when I'm around big groups of people for too long. So yeah, introverted life is definitely the life for me. You seem unbelievably intelligent, adventurous, and just winning at life. That is so unbelievably nice. Thank you for thinking that. Don't really relate to intelligent because I think, again, a lot of people who find themselves in places like medical school will realize that they thought they were smart or intelligent in their pool at school, and then you get thrust into this group of people who are all at the top of their game academically, and so your view of intelligence and smartness kind of shifts, and that just keeps happening throughout life. You're always in situations you feel out of your depth. Common sense wise, absolutely none. I cannot for the life of me understand adult admin, finances, taxes, just general basic life admin, which by the way no one taught us about ever, so it's a bit ridiculous that we suddenly have to know how to do it all. Going off on a tangent, what am I saying? Oh yeah, common sense wise, yeah, I need a lot of help in that department for sure. Adventurous, absolutely, I'd like to think so. I love having new experiences, but at the same time I also really value routine and home life and just kind of having a nice bubble around me. So yeah, I guess it's kind of the opposite of each other, but I honestly thrive in both environments. And winning at life, I've already touched on that slightly. I had two people assume that I was 5'6" exactly, and that is a lot taller than me. No, I am 5'3". I guess there's no real way to assess height online. But yeah, I'm not particularly tall. You are super smart and probably an overachiever. The smart thing I've touched on, it all being relative. Overachievement, the word overachiever has a lot of negative connotations, and I think it depends on where the desire to achieve those things is coming from. Is it being pressed upon you by parents, society, whatever circle that you're in? Or is it something that gives you so much genuine kind of satisfaction and happiness? And of course, if it's achievements for the latter, then go forth and overachieve, I think. But if it is from pressures and things, it's not ideal. I'd say I'm at the point in my life now where all the achievements are for pretty much me and me only. There's not so much of that parental pressure, school pressure, university, or general institutional pressure. Not that any of those bodies ever, I feel, put a lot of pressure on me. I think a lot of it came from myself. And I guess that comes into another sort of problematic way of thinking, is if you tie these achievements very closely to your self-identity and self-worth. And I think that's where overachievement probably gets a bit of a bad reputation. I would say that yes, I'm an overachiever in that I am very goal orientated and very incentivized by feeling that sense of achievement. Now I'm working very hard to tie that away from my self-worth and know that even if that thing doesn't work out or I don't get that thing, that's okay, and that does not kind of lessen me. And if anything, it's a learning experience that makes you better for anything that you attempt in the future. So to finally answer that, yes to team overachievement. I think that's a good thing. It's good to be ambitious, driven, and it's satisfying to always be working for something. It kind of gives you a bit of purpose, a bit of drive, but no to external pressures and internal pressures as well, for that matter. So yes, I don't think I really answered that, but make of that what you will. Okay, I definitely have to stop soon, so I'll just do a couple more. You have always wanted to be a doctor. No, actually, I went through a lot of career options at school. I always said if I didn't do medicine, I would love to do English literature. At least at the time I was in school, that was what I really loved. I loved not only reading the books, but also the whole context that you learn about that time in history and what the author was going through and everything else that was attached to the book and its context. Yeah, I would have loved to explore that more. And I also really enjoyed writing as well, and I think reading and understanding literature makes you a better writer. So yeah, I love that kind of part of it as well. Ending on quite a juicy one. You have high self-esteem, which people take as ego. Oh, that one really hit me close to home. Don't know if I can explain this properly on here, but I will try. I feel like the baseline for me, and actually a lot of people, is to assume that everyone knows more than you and that you shouldn't be in that situation and you're a fraud. People might find out soon. Basically imposter syndrome. I had that at medical school, and then when you first become a doctor, and then even with social media, when you're putting things out there and you don't really know if you should be in that space at all. It happens again and again. Now, the difference is, as I've gotten older, is that those feelings are still there in the background, but you also realize that everyone around you is thinking the same as well, and you're actually not alone in this thought at all. Everyone is basically winging it. Now, the beauty of winging it for long enough is that eventually your thoughts become your actions. And I think those two things are always really interlinked. The more that you're thinking that, okay, everyone's feeling the same as me, I should be here, I deserve to be here, you'll start to assert yourself a bit more, you'll start to be a bit more confident. You realize that if you act confidently, it'll help you feel better and perform better in whatever you're doing as well. And that kind of cycle keeps feeding itself. The bit where it gets very complicated is that because I am such an overthinker and I'm always aware of, or too aware of how people might be viewing me externally, is that I think that me acting confidently, even though I don't really know what's going on, is coming across as ego or too high self-esteem. And then I overthink that I am acting fakely in a way that might be coming across real, and that is also too much, and people are thinking that it's too high self-esteem, which sounds nuts, I know, but that is honestly something I do think about a lot. So that's why this assumption kind of hit me a little bit, because I was like, oh my god, people can see through this whole 2-3 layered act of not actually being confident but acting confident, and then feeling like it's too much, and then people thinking it's ego, and all of that stuff that's going on in my head is in this one assumption. So whoever wrote that is very very observant of you, and I think I would slightly agree with it. I don't think that I am someone who thinks too much of myself or is arrogant or anything, at least I hope not, but I do wonder if the way I act comes across as ego sometimes. So yeah, I feel very exposed, very honest there, but thank you for assuming, thank you for asking. Interesting discussion, which I don't think I particularly articulated well, but yeah, I think we'll leave it there. That is everything I have time for, guys. I literally have to go, otherwise I'm going to miss this boat. Thank you so much for watching. Bear with me while the content schedule is a little bit irregular, but I'm working on it, and hopefully more coming from me soon. So please subscribe if you want to see that. Thanks so much for watching, and see you later.